Paul Slyer from PAW Safaris was presented with a worst-case scenario on the 5th of January 2018. A guest from a neighbouring lodge had ignorantly decided to swim in the Oliphants river, where lots of crocodiles live. He was taken by a crocodile, but Paul managed to intervene and rescue him against huge odds. In this video, Paul tells the story on site where the incident occurred over 5 years ago.
So when it happened, the river was a little bit lower than this, but it was as dirty as the water was as dirty. Actually, we had guests at our lodge, Maninghi Lodge, and they said that they can see two people swimming in the river. And I was looking at the binders and I thought, yeah, these people are a bit crazy. They swam across the river and they got out on that kind of grassy bank over there, got back in the water, and they were walking back this way. Something's grabbed the guy. So I grabbed the binos from him and I had a look and I could see that he was being flung around and smashed about, and that's when I realized the croc had grabbed him. You know, he was getting thrown around quite badly and smashed around quite badly. I could see his head under the water going from left to right, or above the water going from left to right. And suddenly I realized, he was in a lot of trouble. So at that point I ran into the lodge and I unlocked my safe and I grabbed my rifle and some bullets, some rounds, and came running out. Probably this whole thing took about 2 minutes or so, 2-3 minutes to get the rifle and get you from the lodge. As you can see, it's about 200 meters from the lodge to this point.
So was all the reeds? It was the time of year was January. Is that right?
Yeah, it was on the 5th of January 2018.
So all these reeds were in place. Just the bush was this thick.
Yes, this is about right. Yeah. The only thing was the river was slightly shallower. It wasn't as deep as what it is now, and it's more deeper here in front of us here than over there where he was taken, just above that island. But by the time I got to him, he was right opposite us here.
Okay, so he'd been swept down quite a bit.
Yeah. So this croc was actually swimming with him, and it's very deep water here. So I think the croc was planning on drowning him in this deeper water. You can see that there's a rock over there where those ripples are.
Yeah.
So I ended up standing on that rock there, and his head was kind of just between that rock and the other side of the bank. And when I say his head, it was just his shoulders and his head. The rest of him was underwater, and I could see that the croc was swimming with him and he was being dragged. I'd loaded the rifle and I was aiming, but I didn't see the croc. And I was screaming to him, "Where's the croc? Where's the croc?" Because I wanted to try and put a shot in and try and hit the croc. And obviously now he was panicking and you're shouting to help, help. But he wasn't really understanding me, quite rightly so. You know, this croc's trying to kill him and he's under shock. So what I then did was, it's about a 40-meter shot. I put 2 shots in about 1 meter to the left of him and 2 shots in 1 meter to the right of him, hoping that I could try and hit this croc. And then the next thing, just to the left of him, the croc's tail came up. And the croc's tail came up about 2 meters off to the left of him. I could see the croc, and I put a shot into the tail. And as soon as I put that shot into the tail, I saw the croc bulge or jump in the water, and it let him go. And as it let him go, then he shouted to us that it's let me go, it's let me go.
Diving in after somebody, I mean, you've now got the croc off them. Like who dives in after someone being attacked by a croc? Like, what went through your head?
How nice and cool the water was. It was a very, very hot day. No, I think in the moment, and you know, from firing the shots, it builds up your adrenaline, and it didn't really even occur to me. It's one of those things you don't have time to think about it, or you don't have time to think about the repercussions of what could possibly happen. For me, it was, this guy was in serious trouble, and we had to get him out. From there, my main thought was to try and get him out of the water as quick as possible. So I gave the rifle to my business partner, Francois, and I told him to reload the rifle. And I jumped into the water and I swam out towards him over there. And you can see where those ripples were. The river was low and there was a small rock that was kind of sticking out. And as I kind of got to him, I shouted to him to try and get to me. And I think he kind of half walked to me, but in shock. And I just wanted him out the water because we didn't know where this croc was. So I climbed onto that rock there and I pulled him up onto me, and we kind of both hugged each other in the fetal position. The rock was very small. So I was holding him with all of his kind of everything out of the water, and I could see that he had major damage to his leg. And then I told my business partner to put more shots in around us. So he put in another 4 shots to the left and to the right of us in the water. And I was screaming to my business partner, Francois, shoot here, shoot here, shoot here, shoot here. Once I felt that this croc wasn't coming back, or he had put enough shots into the water, we climbed back into the water, and we actually swam through to here, this bank here. And you can see it's quite high, quite steep. Victoria, my fiance, had the first aid kit, and she had a towel, and there was quite a few other people around, the staff and stuff like that. So when I took him out the water, he was bleeding profusely from his leg, and this sounds very gory, but from below his leg onwards, there wasn't much left. It was very badly mangled.
His right leg, hey?
I think, if I remember correctly, it was his right leg. So I put a tourniquet on just below his knee, and then we put him on the towel and we carried him up to the top of this bank here.
Right up to the top of this bank over here.
So myself,
Okay.
Francois, a few of the other guys, Victoria, we had him on the towel and we carried him up here. He had puncture marks, or looked like puncture marks, in his shoulder area and his chest, and I think his back. And we applied first aid to him. Then the warden arrived, Cornell, and he organized the ambulances through the gate and all of that. For about an hour after the attack, the ambulance got here, and they put him in the ambulance and they took him away. I visited him in hospital a few weeks later. We're still in contact now every now and again, but yeah, it must have been very traumatic. But you know, just to kind of bring attention to people that all these rivers out here, you can't swim in them. There's so much danger. You can see there's a hippo right there still, lots of crocs. And I'd say the croc was probably around 3 meters, 3.5 meters, by the size of the distance from the tail to him and how it.
And how big was he? Was he a big guy, a small
He was
guy?
a fairly tall guy. He was an elderly gentleman, in his early 70s, but he was fit. He was a strong guy.
Yeah, it strikes me how long he was in the water for. And it seems like, obviously, with Mark Montgomery's recent crocodile attack as well, that if the water's not deep, both incidents, the people could stand. And that seems like quite a key piece.
For sure. I think if a croc gets you and you're in water deeper than your head, you don't have much of a chance. We still don't know what the outcome would have been if we weren't here with the rifle and not shooting the croc in the tail, whether he would have survived or not. I can't tell you that. But yeah, definitely 3 to 4 minutes, I would say, from when the croc grabbed him till when I fired the first shot.
What advice do you have for other guides and trailists about water and avoiding crocodiles?
You should never make any judgment on anything that's under the water unless you have 100% visibility of what's in front of you. So, you know, as the water is now, I wouldn't approach anywhere near the bank when it's cloudy like this. Secondly, if you do need to get water, throw stones and make sure. But, you know, I have seen it before where there's been crocs and I've thrown stones and they haven't always moved. They don't always move.
Thanks to Paul for sharing his experience with us. The aim of this series of stories is to share experiences that we can all learn from.